Kat, and welcome to my channel, Naturally Beautiful Girl. There have been so many new launches in the conscious beauty space. I've been testing them out, trying them out, so I've got a few more to share with you today. But before I jump into applying some new makeup products, I did want to quickly mention this right here. This is the Kinship Self-Reflect Sport SPF 60. I unfortunately didn't record myself applying this because I applied it before I sat down to film this video. This is actually my first time using it. I have nothing on in terms of makeup, so this is just the sunscreen. And I have to say, I'm really impressed. I was nervous because when I squirted this out, compared to the regular Kinship Self-Reflect sunscreen, this one doesn't have any tint to it. Like here, I'll squirt a little bit out onto my hand. I don't want to waste too much of it, but as you can see right here, it's not at all tinted, and I was worried with it being an SPF 60 that it was going to white cast me, but I mean, you guys can let me know in the comments down below, but I don't think I have a white cast, which is super exciting, especially when you're using a physical sunscreen and you have that high of SPF, they can really tend to white cast you. So I'm pretty impressed by this. It is a little glowy, but also I found that higher SPF products tend to be. But I did want to put this on today because I am going outside. I'm actually super excited. I'm going to go see a tour of maple syrup, like being collected from trees and everything. And being from Florida, I've never actually seen this with my own two eyes. So I'm really, really excited. But because I'm spending some time outside, I wanted to wear this, especially as we're going into spring and summer. And I'm really happy that they launched this which is sweat and water resistant, SPF 60. You guys already know I love the regular Kinship sunscreen. This definitely has a different texture to it, but honestly, on first application, I really am quite happy with it. So I'll keep testing it and keep you guys updated. But my first impression so far, I'm really happy with this. With that out of the way, let's jump into our first makeup products. I'm sure you guys have heard all the buzz about the Fitglow Beauty new foundation. I did pick this up and I have the shade F1. I'm gonna apply it for you guys so you can see. This is the lightest shade, and I do think the shade match is pretty good for me. I am happy with how it looks. It does have a doe foot applicator, which I'm gonna be really honest, not the biggest fan of. I really would have preferred to see this foundation with a pump. I thought about this the other day because I have stick foundations like the Merit, but with that, I feel a little bit better applying that directly to my face because when I swipe it, the product is coming off. So I'm continually wiping the product off in a way. Whereas this, if I, dab it all over my face, I stick it back down into the full, bottle of foundation, which I would have liked to have seen a pump. I'm just not about doe foot applicators for foundation. So what I ended up doing is taking a whole bunch of it, wiping it onto the back of my hand, which I just washed before sitting down to film. And then I will take my finger and transfer this from my hand onto my face. So basically I'm using the back of my hand to kind of like a palette. But yeah, I would have just preferred to have a pump. The foundation is a little bit pink in undertone, but it does work for me. I am happy with it. I think it's a good shade match. I'm not having any issues with that. I did have the original Fitglow foundation. That was the OG foundation in the clean, conscious beauty space. There just weren't a lot of options back then. And I know a lot of people loved it, but I was never the biggest fan of it. I think I ended up actually passing it on to a friend of mine because I just never reached for it. It just was not my favorite. So this foundation, I would say, is very, very different than all of the skin tint products we're seeing, like the Kosas, the Calorie Beauty, the Pacifica. Those are all tints, where I would put this more firmly in the foundation category. It definitely gives you more coverage, which, if you're looking for that, it's a good alternative to all these lighter weight foundations. And I do have to say, I've heard some people talk about this. This is a bit of a drier foundation. It looks pretty glowy on my skin. I do have oily skin. And also I do have that sunscreen on underneath, which is definitely a little bit glowier. You can see it's giving me a good level of coverage. I didn't go too crazy with the coverage just because I have been preferring lighter coverage foundations like skin tints, but I am happy with how this looks. I just really am in a space where I really like skin tints and I really like how natural they look on my skin. I feel like this looks like I'm wearing foundation, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like with a lot of the skin tints, like the Tower 28 in particular, it really doesn't look like I'm wearing foundation. And I really like that about that product. Whereas this, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I have foundation on. It's pretty obvious. So my opinion is this is fine if you're looking for a foundation. I certainly think it's a lot better than the original Fitglow formula, but that's not surprising. Honestly, in the past, 5 years that I've been in this space, making my YouTube videos, the quality and I guess you could say like the technology in conscious beauty products has improved immensely. Like things that were considered like state of the art, best foundation at that time, like things have just completely blown it out of the water. And I think it was really time for Fitglow to redo their foundation. And I certainly think this is a lot better. However, just because I've been preferring kind of lighter coverage skin tints, I don't love the way this looks on me. Also in terms of wearability, while it is pretty matte when I first put it on, like I said, it's very glowy right now. I did a bad demo today and putting on a very glowy sunscreen underneath, but it is normally pretty matte. But I still find that my skin gets really oily with this foundation throughout the day. Like this is going to be really oily by the end of today, which I don't love. Like it's just not the best foundation out there for me. I know people love it. I know there are people that really enjoy this, that works well for them, but for me, it's just not quite cutting it. So I've played around with different bases, like different sunscreens, different moisturizers underneath. I've played around with different setting powders. Like it gets very oily by the end of the day. And it's really funny because I had been testing this out and then I swapped and used the Tower 28, intermittently. And I was like, at the end of the day, my makeup just looks so much better when I'm using that foundation. So it is what it is. To talk about a setting powder, and I did pick up the new Saie Beauty. This is the Air Set, and I have the shade Translucent. It did come in a couple different shades, and it is a loose setting powder. I have no idea why Saie came out with a loose setting powder. I've been using pressed setting powders pretty regularly. My top choices being the LYS Beauty setting powder, the Kosas Cloud Set powder. Like those setting powders are pressed, and when switching back to using this, I was like, why do we use loose setting powders? Like pressed setting powders are just so much easier to use. And the one exception I will make to that is my 14E setting powder, but that is because the formula of that is just so good that it is worth the rigmarole of it being a loose setting powder. This, on the other hand, it's not that good. To be really honest. It does have a locking sifter, which I appreciate. We all know that. This is what the powder looks like. It definitely has a bit of a tint. When I look at it in the light, I feel like it has a little bit of iridescence to it. So I think it is kind of a glowy setting powder. It just doesn't work that well for me. I feel like I have to use just so much setting powder and it just doesn't look as good as something like the LYS setting powder or the Kosas Cloud Set. If you want a more kind of a setting powder that doesn't make you look overly matte, I would say the Kosas by far and away is a better setting powder. It just kind of it's like blurring. It just kind of smooths your skin out. And this doesn't do that, but it also doesn't provide as good of a setting power as, for instance, the LYS Beauty setting powder. So for me, it's just, I don't know. I'll apply it and you guys can see, but it's just not that great. And then the mess of it being a loose setting powder, I'm just not into it. And I feel like I just have to use so much to get my face actually set. I don't know. Just not my favorite. And I think the shade does deepen my foundation a little bit. I am so fair. These tinted powders have to be pretty light in order for them to not do that. And I think, this is deepening my foundation a little bit. If you see that, you can let me know in the comment section, but I think it is deepening this a bit. I played around with the setting powder with different foundations. I played around with the Fitglow Beauty Foundation with different setting powders. It's not the two of them together that's the problem. It's both of them separately. And then my face is going to look real oily and very much a mess by the end of the day, because like the combination of both of them together is just not great for my skin and being oily. So yeah, this is what's going on. Here, let me try and zoom you in. We'll see if we can see this. I still look pretty glowy and my skin is still a bit tacky, and I feel like, I don't know if you can see, but I feel like it really does emphasize like my pores. It's just not a great setting powder. The final part we're going to talk about is this one here from Merit. This is their new lipstick, and I have the shade Millennial, and this is described as their signature lightweight lipstick. And I have to say, first off, I love the packaging and how it looks. I do really like the shade. This is the shade Millennial. I mean, it's a pink. I like pinks. I'll go ahead and apply it. So this is pretty much like my ideal shade of pink. I think it's really lovely. It's not too warm toned. It's not too cool toned. It's just kind of like spot on in the middle. I find it to be a comfortable lipstick. I think describing it as a lightweight lipstick is very accurate. It's not heavy. It's not overly creamy. It's definitely lightweight. It's not as long wearing as something like the Rose Ink lip crayons, but I did find it to stay on surprisingly well. It obviously is not transfer proof, but it did wear a lot better than a lot of just like really creamy lipsticks. So I would say this is kind of in between in that it's not overly creamy, but it's not matte. It's in between, and so that does give it a bit of longevity. But you know, if you are eating, it's gonna come off. You know, if you're drinking, it's gonna come off. It's not gonna be completely budge proof. So keep that in mind, but I have been enjoying it and I have been reaching for it. It doesn't make my lips feel dry. This really checks the boxes for me. It looks good on my lips. It doesn't look patchy. It doesn't accentuate fine lines. It wears fairly well for a bullet lipstick, all things considered, and I like the colors. I did intend for this video to be a bit longer because I picked up the new eyeshadow, one of the new eyeshadow palettes from Gwen Stefani's line at Sephora, which is like the GX, I think it's GXVE line. However, I had to have it shipped to me because my Sephora didn't carry it in stores, and it arrived shattered, like completely shattered. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to test that. I'm going to see if I had to return it to store, which was funny because I went into the Sephora to return it, and my husband went with me, and they had, you know, this huge poster in the front of the store with like Gwen's face on it and all this stuff. And then they had this tiny little display in the front of the store with the items from the brand. And of course they had two of that. There's like 4 eyeshadow palettes and they had 2 of them, but neither of those 2 were at all ones I was interested in. The one that I ordered, and then another one that was like, I would have been interested in, or not available in store. And it was really funny because my husband's like, we're having such a big display and big poster in the front store window and all this stuff. Like, they should have just carried the whole line, which I fully agree with. It's kind of frustrating, actually. I mentioned this before, but like Sephora will have like a couple items from a brand in store, but like not the full line. And it's just like, it's really hard to tell. And for that reason, I like never go into Sephora to shop because, chances are they're not going to even have what I'm looking for physically in stores. If you are still interested in seeing a review on that eyeshadow palette, let me know in the comment section down below. There are a bunch of other releases I've been seeing kind of on my radar coming out soon. I think Rose Ink is coming out with a lipstick. Yeah, so lots of exciting things to keep testing out and trying out. So let me know if you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And of course, subscribe to my channel and come follow me on Instagram. I'm at naturallybeautifulgirlkat there. And let me know. I've been trying to think of kind of new video ideas, new content that you guys would be interested in seeing. If you have any video suggestions, recommendations, it could be, you can think outside of the box. I'm open to trying other things than just makeup, so let me know in the comment section down below. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.